Welcome back to another reading of Zelda Ocarina of Time Player's Guide. So I'm going to open it up where we left off. I'm just going to double check. I know we were... I think we stopped at the Deku Tree. So just as a quick recap, we learned a little bit of the backstory of this game in the last video, and we know that we're starting off as a young version of Link in the beginning of this game, and I'm not going to give too much of the story away, but basically we know that we have to stop Ganondorf, the enemy of the game, from gaining power, and power comes from the Triforce pieces. So picking back up the Deku Tree, so you're going to venture inside the tree and basically have to defeat a boss. You can see here some images. Here's the tree. And then this part of the guide will kind of just walk through some steps you can take to make it through the tree. And then some more steps. And like I said, when I go through these pages today, I'm not going to go over everything. Just a pretty high level overview so you can get a glimpse of the game and see if you'd be interested in playing. And this is the first boss that you'll be trying to defeat. So you'll want to make sure you're prepared for that. And when you defeat it, you will get an emerald. Okay? So let's pick up there. Link emerged from the Deku Tree victorious. As a reward for his valor, the tree bestowed upon him a sparkling jewel, the Kokiri's emerald, and told him he must leave the forest for Hyrule Castle, where a princess would reveal the next step on his path of destiny. Link ran from the forest, but was stopped by the sound of Saria's dulcet voice. She gave him a musical ocarina and wished him luck. Stepping out from the trees for the first time, Link was taken aback by the size of Hyrule Field. A sprawling plain that stretched further than his eyes could see. And there it is. Okay, so the Kokiri Emerald is important. And it's one of the spiritual stones, which we talked about in the last video. So you'll have the opportunity to kind of explore Hyrule Field here. This is a very nice map of the area. And then there's also a market area. So these pages kind of just go over other things you can do. I know there is a potion shop, so you can stop by there and gather some potions if you'd like. Here's a little snapshot of what they offer and the prices. And then some other fun things you can do as well. And then Hyrule Castle is the next step. sneaking into the castle. Link left the marketplace and headed for the castle as the great Deku Tree had instructed him. Unfortunately, because of a foolish prank pulled by some townsfolk, security around the castle had been increased tenfold. A legion of guards stood between Link and the Princess Zelda. Craftily, Link observed that the guards were looking only for outsiders coming up the path. A boy climbing up the wall and cautiously walking from tree to tree behind the guards would not be discovered. Once finding his way around the gate, Link softly tread across an open field. But with the drawbridge closed and the walls too high to scale, Link dove into the chilly moat and swam past the final pair of guards. There is Hyrule Castle. Looks a little bit different than the current Zelda games, but there it is. And here is Zelda finally. So you can see here she's a young girl. A nice pink outfit. And this is Impa. And she looks very different than what she looks like in the current Zelda games, if you recall. So this was her back in Ocarina of Time. Basically, you're going to talk to Zelda at this point about the prophecy. And she's kind of going to tell you she's very worried about Ganondorf, the enemy. And she'll also mention that she really wants you to get those 3 spiritual stones. Remember, you already have one of them. So then there's 2 more you have to get. So kind of heading on that journey, there's various places you can go to. One of them is Lon Lon Ranch. And then Kakariko Village is another town you can visit. Potion Shop, Bazaar, Impa's house, more things you can buy. And again, just more side things you can do. And then the Lost Woods. This is another area that you will explore. And you'll see a map again. Lots and lots of maps. You'll encounter some monsters. And then you will find Saria. She'll be playing a simple song on her ocarina, and then she'll kind of just give you some advice before moving forward. So Death Mountain is the home of the Gorons. So there's a steep mountain path that you'll go up. And of course you'll encounter some fun little monsters and enemies. And then you'll reach Goron City. And I love Gorons. I think they're really cute. Here they are. When Link first met the Gorons, he was amazed to find a race that ate rocks. But he supposed the rocks made a better diet than some other things he could imagine. Besides rolling and eating top sirloin rock, Gorons loved music and dancing. You could say that Gorons invented rock and roll. Then you also start to learn about the great fairies, and they live in underground fountains. And Goron City is a whole other area that you will be exploring. another map. And then you'll receive a bracelet here as well. So here it is. And while wearing this gift, Link was able to lift the heavy bomb flower bombs and even throw them at enemies. So that comes in handy. And then once you have that, you can travel to Dodongo's cavern, where you will be using these to enter. Then of course we have a nice little map again. Another type of enemy. And then after you make it through, you will reach King Dodongo. And this will be your second boss battle. And after you beat King Dodongo, you will get another spiritual stone, the Goron's Ruby Stone. So that means there's one more. So Zora's River area will be after that, which is just to the east of Kakariko Village. Determined to unlock the Temple of Time with all 3 stones, Link trudged upstream to find them in the source of their river. And this will be the next area that you'll be able to explore and kind of check out. Here's King Zora, kind of cute. Schools of Zoras followed under the leadership of the Kingfish. Though Lord Jabu Jabu was the domain's patron deity, King Zora was the ruling monarch. At times he seemed to have a little too much blubber in his head, but nevertheless, the bumbling king commanded respect from the Zoras. Jabu Jabu's belly. So Jabu Jabu is important because there is something in his belly. And so you will be exploring that, and it's actually a temple. So again, you'll get through the temple and have another boss battle. And this one looks very interesting, as you can see. And then once you beat that enemy, you will get the final spiritual stone, which is Zora's Sapphire. So, you have all 3 spiritual stones. You might be thinking, is the game over? Well, at this point it's really just beginning. So fast forward a little bit, and you will be traveling back to Hyrule with your stones. You will get to the Temple of Time and find out that getting those stones kind of helped Ganondorf, unfortunately. As Link approached the castle, he caught sight of Impa spiriting Zelda to safety. They were being pursued by Ganondorf, the dark figure from Link's nightmares. Using the stones, Link entered the Temple of Time and pulled the Master Sword from the pedestal. Lurking in the shadows was Ganondorf, waiting for the future hero of time to unlock the sacred realm. With the Triforce within reach, Ganondorf pushed Link aside and harnessed its power for his own evil gain. So even though you used your stones to open the door to the sacred realm, which is what you were supposed to do, you try to lift the Master Sword and you are not successful. And long story short, you do get trapped for 7 years. And then you wake up 7 years later and you meet Rauru. Right here. Okay? And what you find out is Ganondorf took over Hyrule while you were asleep. So, again, your journey is just beginning. When Link opened his eyes, he immediately sensed that something was different. He lay in the Chamber of Sages before Rauru, sage to the Temple of Light. Rauru explained that Link was, in fact, the hero of time, but when he had pulled the sword from the stone, he had been too young to wear the mantle. His spirit was contained in the Temple of Time for 7 years, until he was able to wield the sword and dispel the evil from Hyrule. Link felt his face and looked down at his hands. He was no longer a little boy. He was now a man. But while Link had slept, Ganondorf had stolen the Triforce and become the King of Evil. With the aid of Sheik, protector of Hyrule, Link had to gather the power of the sages and drag Ganondorf into the void forever. And that is the goal for the rest of the game. And here's a really cool image of Link, and he looks older than before, since 7 years has gone by. And now moving forward, really the goal is to go through all the different areas and defeat all the bosses in the different temples. So I'm kind of gonna just flash forward a little bit, because I do want to go through some important things. So the Forest Temple will be the first one, and you have to make it through another kind of scary looking enemy. And this guy actually does a really good job walking through every single part. And then at the end of this temple, you'll have Phantom Ganon to defeat. So you have to be prepared for that battle. And then Death Mountain Crater is another area. And then the Fire Temple, so you have to get through this. And then you have to defeat this boss, Volvagia. Not sure if that's perfectly correct, but when you're a kid, I guess you don't really think about how to pronounce most of these names. And again, this whole part of the game now is to defeat all the bosses in the temples. The Ice Cavern is another place you'll get to go through. And this was actually Zora's fountain prior to the 7 years going by. So now it's all freezing and cold. So you'll need iron boots. You can see them right here. And there's a water temple. And in this one, you will have yet another boss to defeat. And then get to the Shadow Temple, a monument built with the blood and bones of Hyrule's evil dead. The temple was a labyrinth of illusions and puzzles, each designed to add another resident to its already overflowing crypts. Only those who could swallow their fear survived. And then once you make it through Bongo will be who you have to defeat. Kind of looks like something from Stranger Things. Then you get to the Gerudo area, very mountainous area. The Gerudo warriors were easy on the eyes and quick to the punch. Superior to their male counterparts in every way, they trusted only one man, Ganondorf. Then you'll come up to the Spirit Temple, and one thing I forgot to mention, again I'm trying to not give too much detail away, but you'll be using your ocarina to travel back in time in this game to affect things that happen in the future. The Spirit Temple was built by the ancient ancestors of the Gerudo people. Since only a single male child was born to the Gerudo every 100 years, the massive shrine was built by female masons and engineers. So yeah, this temple is big. And then, so at first you're playing as Link when he's younger, and then Link's adventure in the Desert Spirit Temple was anything but complete. He had won the Silver Gauntlets, but lost Naboru, the only person who could help him solve the mysteries of the Gerudo and Ganondorf. When he entered to the Spirit Temple, he would not do so as a child. He would return as the hero of time. And then here is the boss, Twin Rova, and it is Sorcerer Sisters, and they have magic, which is either flame or fire. And again, this is one of those situations where what you did in the past will affect the future, so just a little hint with that. And then you will get to Ganon's castle. So here it is. The 6 sages had been saved and Link's quest was drawing to a close, but one great adventure remained. Ganon's castle contained 6 barriers of power that the hero had to break. Zelda was still held captive, and Ganon had to be dethroned. It was to be Link's ultimate challenge in the quest of the Ocarina of Time. So we have a map, of course, and then all of the tips for getting through. To reach Ganondorf's tower. And this is what he looks like when you get there. It says, his sunken eyes were portals to the evil and hatred that boiled beneath his crawling skin. He bordered on invincible, fearing only the hero of time. And that is Link. So obviously this is the point where you're going to be up against him soon. And here's an image of that. So what do you think? What do you think happens to Link and Zelda and Ganon? Do you think he can defeat Ganon? Well, I guess you'll have to play to find out. And then the end of this guide just has some other side things you can do. Happy Mask Shop. All the places you can get stamina hearts, which is important. the more hearts you have, the better, considering you don't want to die too easily. And then magic beans, which I think we talked about in the last video. And then information on fairy fountains, which I told you a little bit about. That is the last page. And then this is the back of the book, which is just an ad from Nintendo Power. I think I'm going to read some of these next on here, so let me know if you're interested. And look, you could get this cool Link keychain by calling this number. I'm kind of missing stuff like this. If you're a Zelda fan, especially after playing some of the newer games, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, I suggest you go back and play some of the older ones. There's so many good ones. Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, lots of fun to be had. Well, I hope this relaxed you, and I hope you enjoyed learning about this wonderful game, and I'll see you in the next video.